So I'm curious, did it work? My sermon title. If you saw it on the email, I was curious whether you found it interesting or not. The title is How One Word Can Change Your Life. Did it make you curious and want to tune in? Do you want to know what that word is? First, an equation. This equation will help you be more successful with your emails, apparently. It's I equals B times C. Decades ago, a legendary copywriter, Gary Bencivenga, came up with the following formula for writing advertising headlines. Or in plain English, interest equals benefits times curiosity. The same holds true for your email subject lines. People are going to be motivated to open emails that promise something useful and makes them curious. But if they think they already know what's going to be in the email, they'll skip it, especially if they're short of time. So you need both benefits and curiosity in an ideal email subject, apparently. But as I look back over my emails, there is one word, when I use it, in a subject line always inspires a response. Even my children open these emails or respond to texts immediately when I use this one word. Now I bet I've really got your interest. That word is help. That one word has inspired a kind of majestic instancy of concern and loving support. I need your help. This congregation responds to that word. Just make sure the email is from me. And know that I will never ask you for iTunes cards. St. John's is good at offering help. St. John's is not as good at asking for help. So I want to commend our vestry for asking for help. This year, the vestry has invested in asking for help to understand our facility needs and set goals and vision, help as we move to online streaming. And by now, you know, we have asked national consultants to help us assess and transform our family and youth programs. Some of them are visiting our service today. Welcome to you. Asking for help is a wonderful thing. But when was the last time you reached out to ask for help? Anne Lamott said, "Here are the two best prayers I know. Help me, help me, help me. And thank you, thank you, thank you." This morning I'm going to ask you to invite something into your consciousness that you may spend a huge amount of energy trying to ignore or cover up. We all have some form of desperation in our hearts, in our lives. The desperation arises when we feel powerless to change a thing. There is something or someone that weighs heavily upon our hearts, and we don't know what we can do to help change the situation or even just make it through. We not so successfully try to shove this concern to the back of our minds, put on a happy face and muscle through. But today's gospel entices us to join these desperate people we read about, to join them in their lostness, their powerlessness, their desperation. We start each service with that wonderful prayer, acknowledging God to whom all hearts are open, all desires known, and from whom no secrets are hid. This invitation comes with the hope of healing, of feeling some relief, some letting go, and with an invitation to remember that God has not abandoned us, but is with us in whatever we are facing. Welcoming our most vulnerable feelings is a scary thing, but faith can help us be with them and help us discover God there. I've often read this poem to you by Rumi, which captures some of what we are invited to this morning. In his poem, The Guest House, This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. It's not easy to welcome our vulnerabilities, to spend time there. When we face challenges, grief, depressing realities, loss of direction, a sense of powerlessness, there is something that we can do. We can ask for help. We can choose to offer our struggle to God. I've happened on to something at the early service, and you can happen on to it as well as we start to regather at the 10 o'clock service outside. We put bulletins on the chairs, and to keep them from blowing away, we put these little rocks on them. And that's always dangerous. I don't want anybody being equipped with a rock if they don't like the sermon. But the rocks hold the bulletins down, and we found that we could do something with those rocks. We could hold them through the service. We could concentrate a little bit on what burden we brought with us that day, what care or concern, what heaviness stayed with us. And so we end up holding this rock through the service, and then each is invited to offer it at the altar on their way out. Something to offer to God, something to let go. Here is what I find most intriguing about the gospel stories today. These desperate people who approach Jesus are seen by Jesus as having faith. But take a closer look. Apparently, faith has nothing to do with how the church often defines faith. Faith requires no willingness to say a creed or agree to a baptismal covenant, no seminary education required, no church membership, no newcomers class, no references, no belief structure, no background check, nothing. For Jesus, faith, as he sees people he's never met approaching him as they're approaching him, apparently faith could be summed up as the willingness to ask God for help. That's it. No other prerequisites. It's just approaching God and asking for help. Now, both the leader of the synagogue and the woman with the hemorrhage are desperate enough to finally break through societal norms and just reach out. No doubt this religious leader was ready to risk his reputation by associating with Jesus. And the woman was, no doubt, clear that touching a man in her state was considered illegal, unclean, and subject to punishment. But who cares when you are desperate? When you're desperate, you might cross a border illegally to save your family. You might ruin your public image by being identified with Jesus. You might push men aside and sneak up on someone to touch their robe. Asking for help is a breakthrough moment. C.S. Lewis put it this way: I pray because I can't help myself, because I'm helpless. I pray because the need flows out of me all the time, waking and sleeping. It doesn't change God, it changes me. This has been a year and a half. Somehow St. John's has come through this stronger. But it has been a year of desperation, where we are learning to ask for help. I don't know about you, but I feel that the transition back to so-called normal is just as disconcerting as it was to abruptly go into lockdown. I walked into a restaurant the other day for some takeout, and I felt I was walking into a scene from the Twilight Zone. And none of the staff were wearing a mask. I felt I had entered an alternate universe. What do you make of this time? This is a turbulent and perplexing time, and it's why we are setting some time aside at the end of the service to discuss transitions back to in-person gatherings and the impact of ending our Zoom sessions for now. We are all concerned about this. We all need some understanding, some patience, some opportunity to ask questions and express our fears and concerns. We all need a little help from our friends. And we certainly need some help from God. May our prayer be, help me, help me, help me. If we can learn to utter that prayer, it will lead to another one. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.